All right, so we just wrapped up another great conversation with a fellow Lobby Day participant, Phillip from GameChange Solar, one of our leading tracker manufacturers here in the U.S. Had some interesting things to say about sort of GameChange's business in general and what he's seeing on the ground, but also it sounds like they're sort of ramping up their engagement on the policy front too, which is great, and some of the stories he's telling. So it's great to hear from.
Yep, absolutely. For a company like GameChange that has over 3,000 employees in multiple states in the Rust Belt, it's to have those folks here to tell the impact that their company is having on not just the U.S. economy, but the global economy is significant. So really, really happy to have Phil here today and give us a sense of what that sort of real life, day-to-day impact of the solar industry is having on the ground in states like Indiana and Ohio and Texas. Yeah,
and grounding it in, there's just such a wider scope to what the solar industry is than I think a lot of policymakers realize. It's not just sort of, electricity. It's also, he's sort of described his company as a steel business at the end of the day. And I think it's important that folks hear those angles too.
Right. So. One of the things that a lot of folks don't know about some of the bigger utility scale companies in the U.S. is that they do work exporting their products to countries like India. And the potential for that is huge over time.
Totally.
And we should be thinking about that as an industry more and more and more, not just the impact that can have on U.S. job creation, but the broader message that is so important in our storytelling right now.
So GameChange Solar, we've been in business for, I think we're at 12 years right now that we're celebrating our anniversary.
Nice.
And we are a global supplier of tracker solutions primarily, single-axis tracker focused on the utility scale market. We do, however, also offer a full set of solutions that includes a fixed tilt solution and a ballasted solution for potential, like for a brownfield site. We are a global business, so we're headquartered out of Norwalk, Connecticut, but we do business all over the world, and we're growing very rapidly.
Right. And if I understand it correctly, entirely U.S.-made product in 2025. Is that right?
So we're founded by Andrew Warden as our founder. We're still privately held. Although we're a global business and we've got a global manufacturing footprint, we will offer a 100% domestic tracker to meet all of the domestic content requirements by Q3 of 2025.
That's awesome.
We delivered projects last year that were already certified by independent accountants as 83% domestic based on the cost of the product, but then based on the new tables that Treasury has issued, will be fully compliant and 100% domestic, as I said, by Q3 2025.
And where's some of your U.S. manufacturing presence? Where are some of your facilities located?
So all over. So we've got around approximately 3,000 people that are manufacturing GameChange product. And if you think about... In the U.S. And if you think about what is the GameChange product, I mean, there's a lot of technology that's involved in it, and we do a lot of engineering and all of the stuff. But basically, we're a steel company. So it's primarily steel. And so we've got a lot in, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan. We've got some in Louisiana and Texas. Those are the big states where we've got pretty large manufacturing footprints.
That's awesome.
That's crazy. When you 3,000 jobs in the United States, what percentage of that would you say, 12-year-old company, what percentage of that what percentage of that 3,000 has come online in the past 5 years?
Oh, nearly all of it, right?
That's
in the last
amazing.
5 years. I mean, you figure we just founded the company, Andrew founded the company, 12 years ago. So it's been an exponential growth, right? So I joined the firm in 2019, and I think we've grown by over tenfold in the last 5 years.
You're here in town for a lobby day that we're organizing tomorrow. Tell us a little bit about what I mean. You've walked us through some of it, but what your story is going to be to policymakers tomorrow. What's on the line for you at GameChange?
Yeah, so this is interesting. Being here in Washington is new for me. This is not something that GameChange has really spent a lot of time or effort on. In fact, mostly we focused on the engineering, the tracker, the technology, manufacturing, basically reducing the cost of solar. That's our vision, and that's how we figure we grow this business. So with the new administration, obviously there's a lot of concern on policy and what that means for industry. So we really ramped up our efforts. So although I'm here for Lobby Day, this is far from my first trip to Washington this year.
Well, good.
So I think I've already met face-to-face with 12 separate congressional leaders on the Republican side. Obviously, that's our focus right now. And really, it's about education and making sure that they understand the value that solar brings to the economy. So I look at this, and this is one thing that I don't feel should ever be a partisan issue in terms of it is clean energy, it is cost effective, it adds to our energy independence. We are building the product in the U.S. These are, again, our steel manufacturing jobs. And I said we've got approximately 3,000 people making the product. But if I just look at GameChange projects, there's over 15,000 people a year that are building those jobs. Those are obviously employed by our EPCs and the developers. But so, I mean, these are good paying jobs creating energy that we need to generate. That's both clean and cost effective. So I just really feel it's just a win-win-win, and that's what we're here communicating.
It sounds like a slam dunk to me.
I would think so too. Yeah.
It's interesting because we talk a lot at SIA about solar being the fastest, cleanest, cheapest energy to deploy, and I kind of want to tie back to your brand, GameChange, because when you think about solar and American energy independence and the kind of impact this technology can have to stand up and keep the lights on around the country, what was the inspiration behind your brand and how you think about the what you're producing for the American people?
So Andrew has a very clear vision, which is to repower the planet, and that is with clean solar energy. And our contribution to that is we work very hard to reduce the cost. And what does that mean, to reduce the costs, right? It means to deliver the best levelized cost of energy, right? And that means the upfront cost of the tracker has to be really cost effective. The installation has to be really fast and efficient. The long-term O&M costs need to be reasonable, right? And I'm saying they're already low by the nature of what a solar is, and we want to try and be even better. But there's good paying jobs to maintain these solar sites for the next 30 and 40 years that they're going to operate. And then lastly, advanced technology where we're going to increase that energy harvest, right, with the given capital you have. So with smart features, so whether that be with power boost to get the most out of row-to-row tracking or weather smart so that we, even on hazy days, we get the most out of it. Weather smart and being able to go into smart stow based on wind temperatures or wind speeds. So all of those pieces it's just what we have a passion for. And I think it's a lot of the people, almost all the people in GameChange have a passion for it.
Okay. I hate to oversimplify, but explain to a very general audience what a tracker is, right? We're talking.
Yeah.
Go for
it. So a tracker will basically start out facing east in the morning. So the rows are going to run north-south. We're going to start facing east, and this is very simple because this isn't exactly right, but it's pretty close, right? We're going to start facing east in the morning. We are going to follow the sun all day long, and we are going to end up facing west in the evening. And then with technology that says, let's say if it's a cloudy day, you'll actually get better energy harvest by being just flat as opposed to tracking. So we'll use predictive weather tools that says, today's going to be a cloudy day. and we'll go flat to get more energy out for that time. We'll measure wind speed and say if it's increasing, we'll go to a safe stow angle. Or as I said, if there was a hail event, we'll go to our steepest stow angle to make sure that a hail event would be a glancing blow and not a devastating impact. And that's been demonstrated on site after site after site. We've also got massive number of deployments that are in both East Texas on the Gulf and then also in all throughout Florida. And so we've gone through many, many, many different hurricane events with very, very good results.
That's great.
I love it. Can I ask one more thing just before we move off the topic of what a tracker is? Mm-hmm. Talk for just a second about building on land that's not flat. Right? The technology is changing quickly and what that means for maximizing land use when it comes to building utility scale.
So one of the advantages that GameChange has is we're a decentralized tracker, which means every table operates independently. So depending upon especially like the flat square land gets consumed, and now you're in a little bit more of a challenging landscape, we can tailor the length of our rows and make sure that we're optimizing exactly how much goes on. And then as you get elevation changes, especially as you go from east to west, right, you're going to want to change how much you backtrack at night, in the afternoon, and in the morning time to make sure maximizing it. The other piece is to do terrain following and allow the tracker to actually follow the terrain, which we have a solution for that. And what that does is moving earth is expensive. So what you want to do is you want to come and provide a solution to the EPC and the developer that minimizes that overall installation cost. And there's a lot of things we can do. We have a proprietary program called TopoSmart where we can look at giving you different pile lengths that allows you to accommodate the terrain changes, or we can simply follow it. So there's a bunch of ways that we have to get you the most cost-effective, fully installed system, even on challenging terrains.
That's great.
It's super cool.
I was struck by what you said a minute ago about the sort of ethos of GameChange, being shared by the whole company, right? Like everyone's kind of bought in on this repowering the planet and keeping the cost of solar as low as possible. Has that evolved at all over time? Like, has there been more of a buy-in as the industry has grown and matured? And I'd also love to hear sort of what the conversations within your company have been like over the last few months as you've been, as you said, kind of gearing up to have more of a presence on policy in Washington, and kind of how that's going amongst your workforce.
Yeah, I think that vision has really been consistent for as long as I've been at GameChange. There's been an incredible focus on the engineering, the technology, and cost. Mm-hmm. And we just realized that that's part of the value proposition we offer. So I'd say that's nothing new for us. Mm-hmm. And nothing about any of the policy changes of really like, oh, now we got to be cost conscious. That's in our DNA, mm-hmm. right? That's very much in our DNA. Mm-hmm. Yeah, clearly within the organization, there's a lot of concern and interest in what's going on the policy side. Mm-hmm. And I think there's probably a bit of policy today that it's way more interesting to talk about the extremes of what could happen and what if this happens, right? It's not good ratings, right? Think about for the news programs, right? The news cycle to say like, you know what, President Trump didn't devastate solar in his first term. He probably won't devastate it in his second term. And I think he does.
And in fact, it grew.
Yes, exactly, right? So, but that doesn't make a great news story, right? Well, and we're cognizant right now that with some of the budget challenges that the administration has in terms of their objectives, that there's a number of cost-cutting things that have to occur. I don't think solar is number one, but I think we would be naive to think that there's not some risk.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that you're here with us telling these stories to policymakers. I think, as you said, it's absolutely critical, and it's really cool to see the evolution of a company like yours, and we're glad that you're flying the good flag with us here this week, and appreciate your time. Anything else that we didn't cover that you want to make sure our listeners know about you or about GameChange?
No, I mean, I think the main thing is, we really feel like this is a good thing for both sides, for both parties. It's good for the American people.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I'm on this thing, I just basically probably say thank you to our customers, our developers, and the EPCs that put so much trust in us. We couldn't be successful without them, and we're committed to making sure they're successful.
Yeah, we're all in this together.
Yep.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.